Hey guys, it's Lewis from Recycle Bicycle Sales here. Today we're going to be talking about nutrition before, during and after you go for a bicycle ride. Nutrition is absolutely key when it comes to everything to do with cycling. Whether you're getting ready before you go for a bike ride, making sure that you're eating and drinking correctly. During the ride, you could run out of energy and struggle to get all the way home. And even after the ride, you might sort of neglect your nutrition and just go straight to bed, and then perhaps you'll wake up feeling incredibly hungry as well. Nutrition can also help your performance. It can help you stay fit, healthy and strong, and it's just enjoyable when you eat the right types of food as well. I actually had a sports scientist friend of mine once upon a time tell me about a secret triangle when it comes to cycling. He described the 3 points of the triangle that you have to be hitting different parts of nutrition. The top one there might be perhaps potassium, making sure that you're having potassium throughout the bike ride. The one down here in the corner could be glucose, making sure that you're having enough glucose throughout the bike ride. And then over this side, we had magnesium and sodium and that sort of stuff. To be honest, I don't know too much about the difference of them. I often sort of group them together, but sodium is like the science word for salt, really. So making sure that you're having potassium, glucose, and sodium/magnesium. Potassium, you'll often find that from things like bananas. You might be chewing on a banana while you're going for a bike ride. You could even have one before you go for a bike ride. If we talk about glucose, we could say things like dates and oats and nuts and that kind of thing. You might have a trail mix that you're chewing on while you're going for a bike ride. Preparing for your bike ride actually starts not only the night before, but before your head even touches the pillow. By that, I mean dinner that you had the night before a bike ride can be so important. If you're, for example, doing a really long bike ride and you're going to need a lot of energy, you might need to have a really big dinner the night before. Perhaps something even with a lot of carbs in it. That could be like pasta, it could be, pizza, rice, all that sort of stuff, just to really fill up your body. And then that way, when you wake up in the morning, you'll still have a lot of sort of long-lasting energy. And on that, you might want to make sure that you go to the bathroom before you go for a bike ride. There's nothing worse than getting halfway through, or not even halfway through, and needing to find the nearest toilets. On that same topic of the night before, make sure you get to bed at a reasonable time. If you were to go to bed at perhaps midnight and then you're meeting your friends for a bike ride at 6 o'clock, that means that you didn't get really that much sleep that night, but you didn't get good sleep either. You might not have gone all the way down into the deep sleep and then back up. So it might not have been super, restorative. I don't know how to say that word. You know the word that I mean. It might not be good sleep that you're having. So making sure you get not only a full night, but a sort of uninterrupted night will definitely help you for your big bike ride the next day. And then when you wake up in the morning, it's important to have a nice light breakfast. I say light on purpose. You don't want to have a massive meal because then you're going to have that in your stomach for the whole bike ride. And as you're sort of crunched over, you're going to hate it. Don't have a big breakfast, just have a nice light breakfast. Another thing to mention as well is don't have a massive glass of milk. If you have heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps of milk, that's not going to stay down. I don't know how else to say that in a polite way. Just don't have too much milk before you go for a bike ride. All right, so now you're about to leave the house. Make sure you fill up your water bottle. It's so important to have water. You want to be trying to take a sip every sort of 15 minutes while you're out on the bike ride. So take into account how far you're riding, how long you think you might be out. You might even need 2 water bottles, so make sure you're prepared. While we're thinking about water, I can also say perhaps some sort of electrolyte, whether it's a hydrolyte or whatever brand you're doing. Electrolytes will help your body retain that water, which means that you're not gonna get the cramps come out quite as quickly when you're all the way out there. I actually had a time once when I was out riding my bike and I was trying to show off on Strava, which is probably the worst start to a story you can have. But I was riding up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill, trying to show off, go up and down a lot of times. And I remember I was going up the hill at one point and my leg completely locked out straight. It cramped and I couldn't bend it. And I had to punch the back of my knee to get it to bend, and it was painful and horrible and all that sort of stuff. What I had to do is roll back down the hill, and I went to the local coffee shop and I ordered myself a coffee, which I couldn't even get into my body. I was that tired. I had a cup of water and I had the salt shaker off of the table, and I poured the whole salt shaker into it. Caught my breath, bottoms up, and it went down. It tasted like I crushed my surfboard. It was horrible, it was disgusting, but it saved my legs and I was able to keep doing the bike ride. So I've had a really good experience with sodium with that part of the triangle there. So now you're out riding your bike. Now it might be worth having a little bit of food in your back pocket. I was just saying I like to bring a banana. My reason for bringing a banana is there's no wrapper. So once I've eaten it, then I can just find a nice safe spot to put it, whether it's the bin or perhaps in like a compost sort of area. A lot of people also choose to use nut bars. Nut bars are really good because they're gonna hit that glucose that we were talking about before. That'll sort of help just fill up your stomach a little bit without it being too overwhelming and too big on your stomach. The only downside, I suppose, is that there is a wrapper, so you're just gonna have to make sure you put that in your back pocket or the nearest bin before you leave. You might also find it helpful just having even perhaps a chocolate bar just to get you out of trouble. The chocolate bar will have a really high amount of sugar, which is just gonna sort of bring you back to life in an instant, but just be ready for that crash a little bit later on. So you might want to even it out with something else, for example, like a banana, because it's full of potassium. Now, if you're a road cyclist, you're already familiar with what I'm about to say, but I'm going to tell you anyway. You have to grab a coffee on your bike ride. I would recommend finding the smallest bakery you can. Chances are they have the best coffee and they're going to appreciate your business the most. Now, while coffee might not be necessarily the most nutritional thing, I think it's really important. I love coffee. You just have to make sure that there's a toilet nearby, perhaps before you get on a bike. So now that you're home from your bike ride, it's important to continue hydrating. Hopefully you've been hydrating throughout the bike ride, but you still need to keep drinking once you get home as well. Another bit is I strongly recommend having a nice meal ready for you just to refuel your whole body, because you've obviously just used a lot of calories while you've been out on your bike ride. So getting some food into you will help prevent stomach cramps, and it will even help you sleep better, as well as giving your body a chance to restore itself as well. It's also worth noting here that now would be a great chance to have a shower. I say that because your body is covered in a layer of sweat. So not only do you smell like sweat, or you smell like BO, I suppose, your body is also covered, which is just gonna make it very uncomfortable, sticky, and it's just not good for your skin as well. We wanna clear that off as soon as we can. And as we all know, Lycra is a bit uncomfortable at the best of times. So at the worst of times, when you're covered in sweat, it can be even worse. So after you've fueled, showered, and rehydrated, you might find that your body is demanding you for a nap. If it is, allow it. Your body will really appreciate having a nice little nana nap in the afternoon. Although this might not always be possible, if you've gone for a long ride, I strongly recommend it if you've got time. As a quick little side note, it might be worth mentioning that if you perhaps have some sort of deficiency, whether it's a magnesium or a sodium or even like a protein deficiency, supplements might also help make the ride a little bit more comfortable. But this isn't something that you'd want to do as a one-off. This is a regular commitment that you might be sticking to, whether it's in the form of a tablet. You don't want to just have the tablet once. You'd have to do whatever it says on the back of the packet. Or if you're having protein, one shake of protein is not going to make a difference. You might need to keep doing it quite regularly. If you're unsure of whether you need either of these things, whether it's the tablets or the shakes, I'd strongly recommend having a chat to a nutritionist because they know a lot more than me. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you've learned something about the nutrition side of things when it comes to going for a bike ride. We talked about what to do before, we talked about what to do during, and what to do after. Now, if you're sitting at home and you've just gone for a bike ride, chances are you probably earned yourself a beer. There's lots of carbs in beer, so they're actually not always a bad thing for you anyway. So I'm gonna say, otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. See you guys.